the objective of this session and discussion. So again, thank you for inviting me here and this beautiful session. So in the coming couple of hours or coming time, our discussion would be more around some privacy enhancement technology, which is popularly known as PET also these days. Okay, so how PET works towards the mitigation of the attacks which could be derived from AI, right? So we are focusing more towards the curse of AI and some misbehave or you see negative impact due to AI and how to mitigate those attacks through some niche technologies. So this is more about a technology which is popularly known as zero knowledge proof, in short ZKP. Okay, so we are going to have a discussion about ZKP and would explore the idea that how ZKP can contribute mitigating the threat which could arise due to the advent of AI and AI based resources. Okay, so I hope the idea is clear. So yeah, so as Dr. Mahendra has already introduced me, I would skip this slide, but with Dr. Vishal Saraswat, who has already given a talk here, I have also written with him a book, a textbook, an introduction in cryptography, which is available online as well. So for basic, you see, background of all the security aspects, maybe if there are a few students from masters or PhD, they could also have a look to this textbook. Okay, yeah. So starting our discussion from the age we are living, right? So today we are living in electronic age, right, or digital age, whatever we call it. Okay? And as you see the movie Three Idiot, we see Amir Khan says that you switch on the light or fan, that's a machine, right? The fan which is revolving, that's machine. Everything is machine. So similarly today, like we want to get money in our account, we get it through online transaction. That's the digital asset, that's the digital data, right? We want to spend our money, we can go to e-commerce website, Amazon and so on, right? We can spend our money in buying anything, so on. We want to send messages or images to our friends or colleagues or our family members, so we use WhatsApp, Telegram, so on, right? Signal, so many messaging platforms. So we are transferring data, you see, right? We want to consult a doctor, or especially during the COVID period, right? We want to take some consultation from some medical authority, some doctor. We could do it online through video consultation and so on, right? And so whatever we want to do today, most of the activities we do it through the electronic communications or digital communications, and in this business the data is involved, right? So we are sending some sort of data, the data is getting stored somewhere, right? We have smartwatch, we have our mobile phone, we have our laptop. Okay, so every activities we are doing, we are involved in with these electronic contents, they are being traversed in the form of data, right? So they are being communicated from one end to another end, and the data are being stored at a certain server. Okay, so in this business, the most important asset today is data, right? Okay, and it is important that the data should not be accessible to any unauthorized user, entity or machine, right? So this is the most important security aspect towards the data. So we know, like, there are certain security pillars for cyber security. For example, the CIA triangle, we know, right? The confidentiality, integrity and availability. Similarly, in cryptography, we have certain fundamental security properties which must be achieved as the core goal of cryptography. For example, confidentiality, integrity, authentication, non-repudiation and all these. But even you see these security properties we aim to achieve, this will come in picture later. So we have data, okay, we are communicating through messages, we are buying some online stuffs, we are taking medical advices and so on. Everything is data. The data must store in encrypted form, that's confidentiality. There should not be any distortion in the format of data content, that is integrity, right? The data must be available when we want to use it, right? There should not be any unavailability, denial of service kind of things. But even prior to everything, first of all, any machine or user who want to go to access that data, the accessibility comes first in picture, right? So authentication comes as the first line of defense against this unauthorized access, right? I believe we all agree to this point. The data means the confidentiality, the integrity, and all other properties about data are, you see, at the second stage, but the first who want to access that data, from whom we want to secure those data. Those data must be secure. This is the principle, right? But from whom we want to secure the data? From unauthorized users. So we want to check whether those users have authenticated access or not. Even accessibility come later in picture. Before accessibility, authentication is the first primary requirement of the secure access, secure communication, secure transactions, right? So authentication is one of the most primary important aspect and activity of this data communication. So we have seen like everywhere in several activities, either it is on e-commerce, medical, online banking, and so on, right? Messaging, everything. We need to authenticate ourselves as a user, or if any machine is pretending us, they need to authenticate. Any portal or machine, they need to authenticate that they are the legit, they have legit access, they are the legit entity, and they have access to that stored data, right? So to access this, to have this authentication, we have several mechanisms, okay? So fundamentally, like we can create a username, we have the relevant password attached to that username, right? So this is the first single sign-in idea of the authentication, right? You need to provide some authenticated witness or evidences that you are the legit user, right? So that was like, I would say, a little old news that we just put our login and password. Now we have more contemporary methods of authentication which are backed to this fundamental authentication activity, like with this only login and password. Now it is also important and crucial that we provide another support. Otherwise, once I stole your login, once I get your password, I'm done, right? So for rest of your places, I can just access your data. So just to make double sure, we have the idea of multi-factor authentication, MFA, right? OAuth, OAuth 2.0, and so on, right? So what we do for more security, we attach additional authentication requirement or additional authentication activity with the fundamental authentication idea, that is the login and password, right? So many a time we also attach, like in Bosch, the entrance in our office. So we have a door, we have the entrance gate where we have like biometric access. So we have our identity card, and with that card we have also biometric access. So we need to patch the card and also to see on that panel where it record our biometric data, connect it to the server where it is stored. At the first time when I joined Boss, I need to provide my data. It check with the reference data, and if everything is correct, it allows me in the daily entrance, right? So it is combination of something I have and something I am, like my iris, my thumb impression, or so on, right? The biometric data, and something I have, the ID card, the magnetic card, or anything, right? So now just to achieve more robust security towards authentication, we are combining several ideas or several methods of authentication, just not to rely on one single sign-in UC method or activity, right? To double sure, to make sure. So many times this this activity of authentication is patched or coupled with different ideas. However, the most contemporary method of authentication is the biometric one, because you see, I have my ID card, it can be stolen, it can be lost, right? So if someone found my ID card, only if the ID card is responsible to, you see, authenticate me somewhere. Anyone who has my ID card, my brother, you know, so very famous news from this Olympics this time. So one of the Indian players, they provided their ID card to get some stuff, the bag, the wrestler, you know, right? So she gave her ID card to the sister, and later the manager, they recognized this activity, and they were immediately deported without even having the game played in Olympic. So that was one of the, you see, news against India's in Olympic. So you know, so if my card is gone, then you see my access is gone. So one of the best possible idea is that my authentication should rely on something I am. So it is not anything which is external to me, it is inside me, my iris, my thumb impression and so on, right? So with this idea, what we do with this traditional authentication method, we also combine the biometric authentication these days, which is very much in practice, right? So I know something, but with that I also provide who am I, right? My iris and all those things. So when this thing comes, it sounds pretty interesting and like more secure, that I am binding something. So until I am not present there, I cannot log into certain system, I cannot have access, right? It's a good idea. However, whenever I authenticate myself with my password or even with my iris data or any biometric data, so as we know how the process works, so at the first registration time, so for example I took my office entrance example, right? So when I joined BOSS at the first time, on first day of my joining, they collected all my data, right? My biometric data and all those things, they kept the data in their server, okay? And every day now when I go to office and when I try to enter, I provide my biometric entrance and the data got matched with the reference data. If the match happens, then I get entrance, right? So if you see, at least twice in a day I have to get entered from the gate, I have to enter from the gate and get out at the time of exit, right? So twice at least the data I am sending, the data set I am sending to cloud server where my reference data is there. So every day at least two transactions I am doing, two communication I am doing with my data. So in a month I am doing at least around 40 communication and so on, right? So there is a frequency, there is a repeating pattern of providing data to reference. Just if first day somebody is trying to steal the data, he is not successful, he can keep repeating this activity when I enter, when I exit, right? And maybe once upon a time, once in a month, once in a 2 months, once in a 3 months, right? He may be successful getting my data. Once he got my data, he can use the same data on my behalf, right? So that doesn't seem a very good idea. And now coming even little more serious issues with this activity is with emergence of AI, right? So we have news 4 weeks ago, I think there was AI based, there was an awareness post by Federal Bank of Boston that there were some attempts of stealing money from Bank of Boston following this what we call synthetic identity, okay, emerged from AI, okay. So there has been awareness post. We all know there has been various video scamming, deepfake video scamming, right, where they try to hoaxing, bullying, unusual contents on your name, right, and they try to have some sort of financial threat and financial fraud, right? So we all are aware of this video scam, the synthetic identity scam, and all those things. So we know deep fake, social engineering, and all those things, right? So you are sleeping in India, somebody in US just by deep fake trying to just clone your facial activities, have your facial details, and can log in where you need to be present physically. Like we had that solution with biometric, right? Now we can have a parallel biometric data through this AI, right? Just having all your expressions captured. So these sort of attacks are seriously very dangerous, right? So even you don't know that you are involved in that authentication, and on your behalf somebody has already authenticated, somebody has already entered in a portal, okay, where you may not intend to enter, right? So this is really a serious threat. This has been more serious as we discussed, like when I go to my office in daily basis, in the morning I get enter, in the evening I exit, for example, right? So just twice in a day. But when this zero trust, I'm sure you are aware with the zero trust ecosystem, right? So let's just have rewind a minute, okay? What is ZT or ZT, zero trust ecosystem? So I will just put this by an example, okay? So I come to NIT Surathkal with my laptop, for example, okay? I sit on this desk, I am user, my laptop is a machine, okay. I have an NIT Surathkal infrastructure, intranet, okay. So I have the intranet network here, there is some LAN, okay, there is an IP, so a lot of things are involved. Then what I do, I open my laptop, I type a certain website address, xyz.com, for example, I went to amazon.com, for example, right? So I am the user, I have my device, I am in the NIT Surathkal intranet, okay? I am going to the Amazon application. So a lot of activity, a lot of entities are involved, device, user, application, intranet, and all those things. All these things, this complete package we call an ecosystem, okay? And what this zero trust technology does is that so you see, in the earlier idea, what I do when I come here, I just authenticated myself on my laptop, and just suppose for a minute I just went to washroom, for example. My laptop is open, I have already authenticated myself in my laptop, I went to washroom or for a water or something, and somebody else can come to my laptop and can do any activity which I didn't want to do, or which may be some malicious activity, for example. But that computer will not detect the other person had come, it will believe that I was the user who has authenticated myself once in a laptop, right? So what this zero trust architecture does, this authenticate everything, the application, the network, the user, the device, okay, everything in the ecosystem every second, you see. So it authenticates every second that whether you are Rajiv who is logged on in the system. It's not done if in the morning 9:30 I logged in, I'm logged in for the day. That should not be the situation. By maybe 9:45 it will again check whether Rajiv is logged in or not, or it may again ask my credentials, for example, right? So it will always keep checking whether I'm using the same laptop. It can always keep checking whether I'm in the same intranet environment, same ecosystem, and so on, right? This is called zero trust. Now can you imagine if I need to provide my credentials every minute, every second, the same set of username, password, how much accessibility I am giving the hacker, how much chance I am giving hacker more to intercept my set of data, right? So earlier I was giving only twice in a day, once when I enter to office and then when I exit to office, but now I am giving maybe 100 times more in a day, okay, to the attackers. So this is really serious. Once if somebody got my credentials, they can use my credentials for any malicious login, for example. So this activity is there. As an academic institute, we may not, we can think certain outcomes, certain threats to this, but as an organization, think like BOSS, think like Google, think like Amazon, okay, to an organization, if privacy is gone using Amazon website, for example, Amazon will be responsible, it will lose its reputation, for example, right? In my organization, if I am using my credentials in the entrance and exit, for example, and if my credential is gone from BOSS premises, BOSS will be responsible for my privacy breach, right? So its reputation will damage, loss of trust, it will lose trust in customer. Hey, we don't go for BOSS. If you use anything in the BOSS ecosystem, you are pretty much going to lose your privacy, for example. So you will not go to BOSS ecosystem. There are also penalty laws following GDPR regulations and so on that will we can come later. But there are regulations also to follow certain privacy norms and regulations, and due to those regulations, if privacy is breached, there could be really serious penalty. For example, it can go up to 20 million, or it is like 4% of the annual turnover, for example, which is a pretty huge amount for an organization like Google, Amazon, or BOSS, for example, right? So you see the consequences are really serious. If your identity or credential as a user is gone, okay, in the process of authenticating yourself on some portal to have authorized access. That's the idea, right? So far what we have discussed, we are living on an electronic age, okay, where for every activity, in almost every activity, we need to provide authentication to prove the accessibility, right, the authorized access which we want for security. But in this process, we need to provide our credential, and in the emergence of zero trust, this check, this verification is even so much frequent, so much repetitive, right, and the chances of interception of our data has been increased so much. So that is these are like some possible threats or issues with the I would say traditional, fundamental, or current authentication process, okay. Let's just keep it side. Number 1, we are discussing number 2, number 3, so on, okay. Coming to automotive, so I included this because we come from BOSS, we are like pioneer in many applications in automotives, for example. So we know like in automotive we have intelligent transport system, ITS, right, iTrams device, if you have heard, right. So you know the the dongle idea, right? So when this smart TV came, even before this smart TV, if you remember, there were some LCD TVs, right, which were not really smart. But what you could do, you could just provide an additional dongle to the TV, and you can make it semi-smart, I would say. You can run YouTube, you can cast your mobile screen and so on, right? So ITS is some device. So nowadays we are living in age of smart cars, but still all the cars are not smart, right? So we have a small ITS devices which we can put and make our car a bit smarter, okay? We have the vehicular ad hoc network on which the smart car communicate, okay? So when just suppose there is a roadway, okay, there are 7 cars, they are following in the same road, or they are in the same network, so they need to keep authenticating each other at every minute that we are in the same network. Through this vehicular ad hoc network, there are some OBU, okay, and RSU, roadside unit, onboard unit. So there are some units which capture data. So just for example, there are 2 people in 2 cars, they are communicating, hey, I am the owner of smart car, I am the owner of the second smart car, I am in this road, because when you are driving, you will have an info that there is some car just 2 feet back to your car, 3 feet forward to your car, ahead your car, and so on, right? There is something on the right hand side, something on the left hand side, and so on, right? So for this, each of these entities has to get authenticated on the common network, then only they can be connected, right? Sensor network, what we call, right? So all these things are there. So the authentication is required for such a process, but as a car owner, if you keep authenticating yourself while driving your car every minute in different networks, now you see network keep changing, right? So in every network of your city, if you have authenticated, that means you have provided your credentials, right? If you have given, then later I can intercept your credential and I can keep track your route, right? Where are you going every day, where do you go, and so on, right? I can breach in your privacy, right? This is not acceptable at all. So for certain issues, similarly, so case number 2. Case number 1 we discussed, in the emergence of zero trust, there is rapid authentication. We are pretty much going to lose our credential. The possibilities are so higher. In the case of automotive, we have seen what are the possibilities, right? When you need to provide your credential every time being in a common network to authenticate yourself, there is high chance of interception of your credentials, and through interception of your credential, I can track your route and so on, right? So Genua is, we are discussing third use case. So Genua is something what we have TCS in India, so software development company in Europe, okay, around the Europe. So for many enterprises, Geneva usually take care of the software development around Europe, okay. So in September 2023, Geneva posted this article, which is we have in a part. So you see, this is about zero trust architecture, what we discussed just a couple of minutes before. So they say that zero trust architecture is a good idea to keep authenticating that sometime there has been no malware request by any malicious entity, okay. But however, when it comes to healthcare and public authorities, okay, sensitive personal data of patients and citizens must be protected while respecting data sovereignty, right? So for example, your Aadhaar card data is kept on cloud, okay. It should not be case that anyone has access to your Aadhaar card, right? And so on. Or your medical data, okay, you have cancer, you have serious diseases, I should not be able to hack on your pacemaker, for example. I should not be able to control your pacemaker, otherwise I just increase the pulse rate and I can just make you die, for example, right? So these things at least should not, means every security is important, but there are very higher priority security, very sensitive data security, okay. And what this Genua recommend, this security really requires some niche approaches. So the existing approach are really not adequate, means not sufficient at least, and we really require some niche technology to protect at least this sensitive data. We are towards those technology. What is the niche technology which helps us in protecting those data? So do you know, means we all know blockchain, cryptocurrency has boomed, right, since the last half a decade or a decade at least, right? But have you ever noticed these big giants, Apple, Google, whatever, means I won't go for the name, but the big giants who are like billion-dollar company, they are never in the cryptocurrency business. Means when I say never in the cryptocurrency business, means they do not do any of their transactions via cryptocurrency. Do you know why? Okay, the reason is pretty much simple. When you go to blockchain.com or any trading, many of you may involved in the trading, I know, okay, so you are already practicing, so you are aware what I am focusing, so you know every time. Right now I can just log in, means I can just go to blockchain.com and I can see in the last 5 seconds who has transferred how much money to which blockchain ID, right? If not the clear name, at least I can intercept the blockchain ID, I can intercept the Bitcoin amount, I can intercept the equivalence dollar amount and so on, right? So I know, I can know if suppose Apple, for example, and Intel, for example, you know, Apple, they do not produce anything of the laptop, they just assemble the laptop. Anything of the Apple, iPhone, watch, anything is none, means none of the things are produced in the Apple industry, okay? They just assemble everything, they get everything from outsourced companies, right? Okay, so they need to pay those companies certain amount, and if they keep paying in this cryptocurrency, you can track the pattern that every 15th, in every month, 15 of every month, they pay certain amount to Intel, this amount, if they are paying for Intel, we can have a guess, it could be for the chips, for example, right? It could be for the microcontroller things or so on, right? So it could be for the semiconductor if they are doing it for an XP and so on, right? So we could have a guess, valid guess, right? And if we know their business strategy, we can put a little, you see, lesser bit. Like if I am the semiconductor company, if I know from whom Apple is buying, I can put my bid little lesser and can win the bid, right? For example, so this can reveal their business strategy. This is why they do not do their transactions in cryptocurrencies, for example, and this is why, like I was there in EY London prior to this job, so we were creating, if you are aware, what we call off-chain or layer 2, okay, if you are aware with this, okay, so there is a main net on which the blockchain works, that we call main net, the main net, right? And then what we are doing are many companies like EY, GK Sync in US, for example, okay, so some of the companies, handful companies in around the globe, they are in the business of creating a parallel chain, we call it off-chain or off-chain, or L2, layer 2, we will come on to that, okay. So this company says that, hey, we don't do our transactions on cryptocurrencies, but we can do this transaction if you cryptographer or you security people can make sure that when we do this transaction, there is no identity loss, there is no information about the amount. Means these two things, who is doing transaction and how much transaction, these two things are still masked, okay, no one should be able to track these amounts, number one, okay. So it is about the authentication. So you know, means we'll come in the picture how exactly it happens, I will come later, how exactly the cryptocurrency transfer happens, okay. But the basic obstacle in cryptocurrency is that it's a pseudo-anonymous, if you have heard this word, right? It's not completely anonymous, at least this partial information I know, the blockchain ID, the Bitcoin amount and all that, it's not complete anonymous, right? This is why the giant company don't want to come in this business. So they want from us cryptographer, hey, can you give us any platform where we can do the cryptocurrency transactions, still keeping all of these things well masked, right? Okay, so well secure. So yes, we promise them we can do it. Also, the another thing is scalability. So one is the anonymity, the other thing is scalability. Though we heard that we hear that cryptocurrency is in boom, blockchain, but do you know that in ETH to take, ETH means ETH 2.0, the Ethereum coin or BTC, for example, okay. So whereas in Visa, the fiat currency, we use Visa card, right? And so just we can imagine the situation, if 2,000 people in the globe at the same second tap the card, the transaction can smoothly take place. But if more than 6 transactions in Bitcoin is happening, there will be a waiting time, right? So if you are 7th person or 8th person, you need to wait for the second lot, for example. So it can handle maximum 10 transactions per second, either Ethereum, Bitcoin or anything. So you see, if tomorrow we convert all the transactions in Bitcoin, for example, okay, there will be millions of people who would like to do their transactions in Bitcoin, and if one Bitcoin transaction takes like 1 hour, though it take less time, we'll come to that also, but you see, if at 1 second it can handle only 7 transactions, then for millions transactions they need to stay keep in waiting in the queue, right? Okay, so maybe someone will get his chance after years, so that's not good. Scalable idea, right? So the scalability is the second issue. So these organization ask question for us, like, so back in EY our client was Facebook, Apple. I was working for Apple and Facebook for this to provide them cryptocurrency transactions. So we have an affirmative answer. Yes, we can do that. We'll come to that answer. And answer of all the questions we had use case number 1, 2 and 3, right? And in automotive, can we have on the network authentication without giving our credentials and so on, right? So yeah, so the idea is when I want to prove myself, to authenticate myself on a portal, okay, to access certain things which is intended for me. For example, if I am the legit user, okay, I need to authenticate myself over the server. So, but the idea is, can I prove my identity even without sending my credential, or even without telling anything about myself? So even without telling I am Rajiv, can I prove I am really Rajiv? That's the idea, right? The answer is, and this I want to achieve being anonymous in a most efficient way, not like the 7 transactions per second in cryptocurrency, but maybe millions transactions per second in cryptocurrency, and being scalable. You know, right now we have seen not just 7 and 10, and the answer is yes, we can do it. Okay, how? What? By applying certain cryptographic protocol, scheme, algorithm, whatever you call it, okay, application, we call it zero knowledge proof. This is the answer to all of the questions we kept in the use cases. Use case number 1, automotive, zero trust, right? So on. So all these things, cryptocurrency. So the idea is zero knowledge proof. So I'm not sure if you have heard about zero knowledge proof. Can I just ask how many of you have heard about zero knowledge proof? No? But have you heard about proof? Proof for sure, right? Okay. What is proof? So there is an Israeli computer scientist, Shimon Even, who says, what is proof? Proof is something which convinces me, right? Okay, so how I prove something? Okay, so if we consider a proof scenario, if you ask your brother to prove something, that he has a pencil in his compass box, what he will do? He will open his compass box in front of you and so, see, this is my pencil. This is the simplest method of proof, but in this method you have seen the pencil, right? So you know about what color of pencil he has, what else stuff he has in his compass box. He doesn't want to reveal all this info. He just want to make you sure he has the pencil without showing you the real pencil. You see? Okay. For example, tomorrow we put a digital locker in front of this door, okay, and 2 of you friends, you sit on the laptop zone, for example, and one of your friends claim that, hey, I know the password of this seminar hall, okay. Then how can you prove to your friend? How you can prove? You say, you can ask her, hey, stay here, I am going, I will open the door, I will just wave you from inside that I open the door, so you believe. But you did not tell him the lock, the password, right? So you come here, you just type the password on the number, okay, you open the door, but then you can say, hey, now you see the door is open. So in this process, your friend is sitting there, but he can make sure that you know the password. This is why only you could open you are able to open the door, right? But you did not tell the password, but you made him sure that you know the password. This is something what we call zero knowledge proof. So we can prove something providing zero knowledge about it, providing no knowledge about it, right? Okay, that's the idea. So in a proof system, essentially what we do in this example, you and your friend, for example, so you are the prover who opened the door, right? Your friend is the verifier who see, yes, you have really opened the door, okay? There is some distortion. So there is a statement which you are proving. What statement you are proving? That you know the password of the seminar hall or whatever hall it is, okay? And the proof, what is the proof? That the door is open. So there are 4 elements involved in a proof structure. There is a prover, there is a verifier, there is a statement which we want to prove. Like in case of cryptocurrency, what we want to prove? We want to prove that I have made a transfer of 3 Bitcoin. This is my statement. I am the prover. Here is my proof. You are the verifier. Okay. So there are 4 elements. If you have some background in cryptography we call them just by different names. Okay. For example, the prover we call adversary. There is adversary challenger game, right? So adversary, so challenger challenges that I have constructed RSA crypto system. Can you break it? Then adversary asks, can you tell me this info? Can you tell me this info? But not the private key, of course, right? So he can ask many information. Okay, so he is adversary. Your challenger is the prover. Okay, challenger is the verifier. Prover is the adversary. The statement is the proof that you know the RSA algorithm, right? So RSA is as secure as factoring, for example. So that is the statement. Okay. Certificate, what is the certificate? That you have no solution for RSA, for example, right? So these are some cryptographic terminology, we may be using them. I can quickly show you, means I will not go in detail, but this is how typically a proof activities takes place. Okay, so at least we know what is interactive activity, right? Interactive activity means there are two parties. So here the parties we are calling a prover and a verifier, right? Okay, A and B. So these two parties are there. There are some interactive transactions. So the prover claim that I know this thing. Hey, can you prove that you really know this thing? Can you sign this message? I will provide my signature and then he will verify, right? For example. So there is an interactive communication between the prover and the verifier. Let I don't go in the math. Okay, this is Snor's algorithm, one of the most popular schemes in cryptography. Okay, so we can see how we can treat an algorithm, basic security algorithm, as a proof, for example. So here this guy is proving that I know private key for a public key. X is public key, W is the corresponding private key, small g is generator of the finite field and all these maths. Okay, okay. So he's proving that I know this private key. And how he is proving? He is proving because he is sending this Z, binding the private information with the challenge value what this guy has sent. You see, he has sent the challenge. So with this challenge he is binding his private information with some randomness. Okay, and then at the end we can see this guy can prove only with the help of capital A, which is public value. You can see G to power R is public value, capital X, which is public key. Okay, and C, so this guy has himself generated, right? Challenge was generated by the verifier. So he can verify that the other guys really know W without having W to himself, without knowing anything about the W, right? So this is Snor's signature, okay, in cryptography. So this we can consider as a proof, right? How we prove, but through interactive manner. There is an interaction. I send challenge, you sign the challenge, I send randomness and all those things, right? Okay. How we use this interactive activity? If you have heard secure access, we have the what key you call, I don't know, like you have your car, you can open your door by your smart key, for example, even, right? Being outside your car, right? You just push your key and you can open your door. How this access happens? Okay, so that in general let we call the diagnostic tool. Okay, from which we want to access to a car, to a machine, to any third part, any portal or algorithm, for example. So in that case, what we need to do? Okay, so you have a Porsche car, BMW, some car. Okay, so for this case, you ask that. So when someone want to access to this car, okay, there are ECUs, right, inside the car. So from ECU, this message communicate, hey, can you prove yourself that you are the legit user who want to access me, right? So because when you are pressing this key, all these activities happening. So what you do, you provide your certificate what you have received from the company, right? So every car company has to be backed with certain certificate, right? From ITAS, script, we get certificates, right? So in the certificate, you know, if you have seen the certificate, so we have HTTPS, the lock icon, right? When you click the lock icon, we can see the certificate. There is public key, right? So precisely in the certificate you have your public key, and that public key is authorized from that CA, certificate authority, right? ITAS, DigiCert, VeriSign, so on, right? So many companies. So you provide the certificate. Certificate means you provide your public key, right? Then this guy provided, car provides you challenge. I'm calling it seed here, okay? And then the diagnostic tool, your key, it provides the signature, okay? Signature means binding that challenge. He's signing that challenge or seed, right? So this is how interactive protocol works between two users, either it is a car and a key and whatever, right? And a two-party scenario, okay? But in this case, what is happening if you see, so precisely, the certificate is used to verify the public key belong to the user, okay, and the signature is being used to verify the signature, okay, corresponding to which that public key works. But in this entire process, the authentication is done, it's good, okay, but in this process, the public key was exposed. If you see, right, I got your public key from your certificate, I used public key to verify you, so I know who are you, because that public key was given to you from that certificate authority. right? So I know certain Rajiv has accessed the car, right? I know the identity of the user. So again, the access is authorized, but the user's identity is gone, right? So one security is achieved in cost of losing the other security. You see, okay, what we can do. Okay, coming little more closer to the idea of zero knowledge proof. So instead of this signature where public key is needed to verify, so you see what was the obstacle? To verify something, the public key was important to be used by verifier. When the verifier use public key, immediately it can connect to your identity and your identity is gone. Can we have some mechanism where without using this public key we can verify what we want to verify, right? So for this mechanism, what we call zero knowledge proof comes in picture. Okay, the very basic idea, as we discussed this door and lock example, so there is very famous example for the zero knowledge proof also available in Wikipedia and many various websites, the Alibaba cave story. Okay, so what is happening essentially? So there are, as I mentioned the earlier example, there are two users, for example say Alice and Bob, two users, where Alice claims that, okay, there is a door in the backside of the cave and it is locked by certain password, but I know the password for that door. Okay, so when I will enter the cave by any way, by any path A or B, doesn't matter. If you ask me by which path I should come out, because I know the backdoor password, I can come out from any way, for example. Okay, then boss says, okay, let's play the game. So they go, Alice stay here, she goes inside. Okay, and then Bob asks him, hey, can you come from A? She come from the A path. Okay, then Bob asks, hey, can you come from B? She come from B. And then for the first time, for the second time, for the third time, Bob can think that, hey, maybe Alice was really very lucky that she has actually gone through path A, that's why she came back from A, right? She didn't know the password because she was already entered by path A, she came from path A when I said. But when repeating this process for you say 100 times, 1000 times, million times, and if every time Alice comes out from the path what Bob asked her, she should have, means Bob has to believe with a very overwhelming probability that probably Alice really know the password, because it should not be possible that for a million time she went to the same path by which I had thought that I will ask her to come out. You see, right? So it may be case that sometimes she would have been gone through path B, but she is stuck on the back door. But because she know the password, when I asked her to come by A, she opened the door and came by A, right? For example. So in this process, Alice proved that she knows the password, okay, of the back door, okay, but still without telling Bob, because she is just showing that she is coming out from the way Bob wants, right? This is what we call zero knowledge proof. So she proved I know something without giving any knowledge or with giving zero knowledge about it, right? Okay. A little more formal in that, that's like an example, but so we know what is proof now, right? Proof is a system, in a mathematical system, where there are two parties, a prover, a verifier, and there are transactions, challenge, commitment, and right, and signature, and all those things. But that proof was interactive. Okay, in that proof the public key was exposed and all those things. When we call a proof to be a zero knowledge proof, okay, so we have a proof structure, but when we when we power it with certain properties, then the proof converts or becomes a zero knowledge proof. When there are these three properties, the completeness, like if everything is correct, no one should be able to stop the prover to prove what he wants to prove, right? Okay, on the converse, soundness, no one should be, any dishonest prover should not be able to prove what he wants to prove. That means anyone should not be able to prove for which they do not have witness, right? That means in the example, anyone should not be able to prove without knowing the password that I know the password, right? So this should not be able. And the third and very important property is zero knowledge. In this activity, when these games happens between this prover and verifier, at the end the verifier should not have any clue about the password or the secret information. He should have zero knowledge information. Okay, we can go more beyond it if we will have discussion, but now let me move. Okay, what is the idea? So in another way to keep things more simple, okay. So how we study things in computer science, like the circuit, statement, proof, and all those things. So in that language, if we say that, so there is some language, there is some statement which statement say X, which belongs to language L, for example, okay. We want to prove that this completes the circuit, okay. So the X, if I have the input, for example, I want to prove that I know the Pythagorean triplet, for example, right? A, B, C are Pythagorean triplet, for example. So I can make a circuit, right? So I can make a circuit, the inputs are A, okay? So there will be two input of A, gate of multiplication A square, right? Output B, B multiplication B square, right? And in from third side, I have C square, C into C, C square, and then I will have a gate, addition gate, A square plus B square, and so on, right? So I can make a circuit, right? So I know some input which fulfills this circuit. That circuit is equal to 0 means it satisfies the circuit. It's not 0, 1, 2, 0, right? 0 means it satisfies the circuit. So I know a statement corresponding witness such that it satisfies this circuit, and this is what I call it proof. This is my proof. I know this, okay. And with this thing, so the important part is this guy want to prove that he knows this W for witness. In red means it's a secret information, and without having this W, this verifier can actually verify whether this guy, the proof he has given that he knows W, actually verifies is a correct proof or incorrect proof, okay. That's the idea. Why it is important to have a zero knowledge proof, okay. So let's consider a simple example. So let's prover says that, hey, I know a message M for which a SHA hash value, okay, secure hash algorithm, right? SHA-256 is equal to 25, for example. I know a message M for which the hash value is 25. This is the statement, this is the claim. I know such message. What he can do, simply send the message, the other party will compute the hash and will check whether it's 25 or not, right? That's the simplest idea. So send the message as a proof, message itself is proof, compute SHA-256 of the message and check whether it's 25 or not, it meets the claim or not, right? Okay, but now consider what if the message is too big. It can be video file, it can be any audio file, it can be files in MB or GB, right? So it can be too long to send over some communication channel, number one. Or it can be sensitive, that you only want to convey that I have more than 1 lakh rupees, but you more than 1 lakh is like 1 crore also, and 1 lakh 1 rupees also. You don't want to know your friend how much you have, you just want to make sure that you have more money than a certain limit, for example. You don't want to reveal certain information. So in such cases, you just would like to send a proof of the statement that you know the message for which SHA-256 says 25, instead really sending the message, okay. So you, instead of this, you send proof that you know whatever you are claiming, and VP is the public parameter on the verifier side, VP public parameter on verifier side. With some public information, he can just check whether it's correct or not, okay. How we construct in real life, okay, how cryptography comes in picture, okay. So to construct, first we need some information theoretical input, but we also need to ensure its security. So we need one input on information theoretic side for the structural fulfillment, okay. So we need an interactive proof, okay. So proof has a structure. We have seen prover, verifier, statement, and so on, right? And what we need also some cryptographic thing to ensure the security. In cryptography, there are certain things. One of the things is commitment scheme. You know, right? Commitment, that you committed something and you cannot deny what you have committed, right? Simple. So you have a commitment scheme that you commit on some. For example, if I go mathematically, you commit on some polynomial, and later you can say if there is any value you put on the polynomial, you can show that this is the value what the polynomial gives, because you just you put that value in the same polynomial, whatever value your opponent asks you, you just evaluate the value on the polynomial, right? So you commit something, so that commitment you require. When you blend these two things, so you have, we'll see how it happens. So we have a commitment scheme inside which we want to see how we can reshuffle this commitment scheme as a proof structure, like proof, verification, for example, right? So we'll see, and when we combine these both things, a commitment scheme and interactive proof, we also call it IOP, interactive oracle proof, okay, because it is between two users, two parties, right? Then it makes a zero knowledge proof what we want to construct, okay. Further, as we discussed, in this zero knowledge proof, this interaction was an issue, right? Because first that there is an overhead of communications, right? It's not one time communication. For example, if you need to provide proof for something, both of the guys, the user and the verifier, they may need to stay online, right? Because you need some input from the prover, right? You need some input from the verifier. It is not the case that you prove something and you just happen offline. Okay, for example, you made a Bitcoin transactions, you need to stay online on the blockchain portal, for example. You cannot be offline. But if you are in US, somebody is in India, this should not be possible. Okay, so there are many cases where all the time the prover and verifier, or on the time when the verifier wants to verify, prover needs to stay online or available. This is not an ideal case, right? So it should be in a best way, there should be a possibility that this communication is non-interactive. Okay, so once someone has developed something, posted on the portal, just uploaded in the portal, and stay offline. Okay, you can just use that thing which is uploaded in the portal, and everything will serve by that the value, and you really don't need any input from the prover at the time of verification, right? That is non-interactive. So when we do it non-interactive, when the size of proof is really small, when we say logarithmic size in circuit, it's really small, right? If it is a binary tree of, you see, 8 level, you have only 8 leaves, the level is only 3, 2 cube is 8, for example, right? And so logarithmic size is really small. Okay, the time to verify that thing is really fast, means very short. That means the verification is very fast and efficient. If both of these things happens together, we call it succinct, small, tiny. Okay, and then the name of the proof, sometimes we also call it argument of knowledge. So ARK word comes from there. Okay, succinct argument of knowledge. Okay, and all together we call it, so it's non-interactive, succinct, non-interactive argument of knowledge. So all together the ZKP, or the zero knowledge proof, we call SNARK. Okay, ZK SNARK. Instead of proof, now we call it SNARK, which is succinct, small in size, quick in proof, okay, quick in verification, non-interactive. Proof is, okay, an argument of knowledge. Okay, what we want to prove. So in our previous example, we see that how we made a ZKP. So to make a ZKP, what ingredients we need? An interactive proof we need, number one, and number two, we also need a commitment scheme. So an interactive proof and commitment scheme, we blend together, we make a ZKP. Okay, but now what we want? We also want to make it non-interactive, right? So we have an interactive proof, we have commitment scheme. We don't go in the algorithm, we can discuss it. We blend this together to make a ZKP faster, but now we also want to make it non-interactive. So there is an algorithm in cryptography, a transformation in cryptography, fiat semi-transformation, by which we can make any interactive protocol as non-interactive protocol. Okay, so we provide the hash value prior. Okay, so by this method we can convert this interactive proof to non-interactive proof and convert ZKP as ZK SNARK. Okay, I will not go. I have included this one of the most popular commitments, KZZ. Okay, these are the first name of the authors. So this is the most popular commitment scheme, out of which nowadays all the practical zero knowledge proof, they get their commitment scheme. Okay, so we have a scheme structure. In the scheme we need to see which things could be arranged as a proof, like something from prover and something from verifier, for example. So here in this commitment scheme, if you follow this commitment scheme, there is something, this W, okay, which is a single element of some group. So just one element, so should be succinct, okay, small, very tiny proof, okay, quick. Okay, and this is just single point in a group. So this is SNARK. This serves as a SNARK for us. Okay, we will come to the application. So many applications of ZKP is there. So almost all of those applications use this structure what we have on the slide now. Okay, so how we could make the earlier example more practical, following, instead of ZKP having ZK SNARK, means instead of having that interactive, the certificate and verification process, just ZKP. So what we are doing, we are basically, if you see, in some sense we are replacing digital signature by ZKP. In digital signature you need to provide a message, the third party will provide you signature on the message, then you will do verification on the message. Now we are just clubbing all of these things in one go, like this is proof, you verify, right? This is the idea. So how we are converting the sigma protocol, due to the structure we also call it sigma protocol, right? The identification protocol, when we need to identify someone, this is the protocol. So we are making it non-interactive, and just in one go we are ensuring how we can ensure the zero knowledge leakage, for example, right? So now with zero leakage, yeah, we can achieve the same same objective. Just coming very quickly, how these ZK snark are really instrumental in various applications, but mostly on the blockchain, as I mentioned. If you have heard Zcash, Zcash, okay? So there are many cryptocurrencies which are now using or implementing zero knowledge within them, okay? So how it works really in cryptocurrency, you all may be trading cryptocurrencies, but what happens actually, so when I need to transfer certain Bitcoin, I need to collect certain information, okay? How much I want to pay, when I want to pay, what is my public key, what is your public key, what is my commitment, what is your nullifier, so many information, okay? Date, time, stamp, lots of things. I club all of these things, compute a hash of it, make a digester, and on that digester today, as of today, we use elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, ECDSA we call, okay? So we apply ECDSA on this digester, make a signature, and leave on the blockchain pool, okay? And then there comes the miners, right? So many miners are there, they got activated, okay? And then we know proof of work, proof of stake, right? So if you are miner, a puzzle will flash on your computer, right? Somebody has initiated the blockchain pool, some transaction on blockchain pool. Can you solve this puzzle? And one who solved the puzzle quickest becomes the winner miner, and he becomes able to add that transaction to the blockchain set, right? And then he get award. This is how it happens, we all know. But in this process, what happens, these transactions you have released on the blockchain pool we have seen in the Bitcoin, this much Bitcoin, this much dollar, this is the identity, all this information it leaks. This we want to avoid. So if we can do that by ZKP, then we achieve a big objective, okay? The other point was scalability, if you remember. Now in Ethereum or Bitcoin, we can only make a transfer of 5 to 6, 7 transactions per second. How we can scale it, where Visa can handle 2000 transactions, for example, right? How we can scale? So we can have all the transactions, we can have all the corresponding proofs, okay? And then if you are aware with the Merkle tree structure, there are tree structures, so we can make it leaf, and in binary tree we can make one root for all of this tree. So for all of the transactions, I can make one proof. This one proof will be responsible for this 10,000 transactions, for example, you see. So by one proof, I am providing basically 10,000 proofs, 10,000 transactions. This is how I can scale it. We can go later in detail if required. So with this thing, we achieve all of these things: privacy, right, the anonymity, efficiency, scalability, and all those things. I just named some real usable ZKP in the real world. If any of you may want to make your career in blockchain and cryptocurrency, so in blockchain industry, the ZKP is in boom, okay? Many industries want to do, they are really looking for nice cryptograph, as I was already working on the industry earlier, okay? So if you are aware, there are Aztec, okay, Halo2, okay, and Plonky2 by Ethereum, so many cryptocurrencies who already implement zero knowledge proof in them, okay? So I will not go in detail. So what we have seen, if you remember, that W1 group element as a proof, that is Plonk zero knowledge proof. That's why I had it here. So just using that Plonk, I can have the real-time zero knowledge proof and can implement that. Will come in later application. I think that will be more interesting. So if I don't know if you have heard, Ethereum India, they are working for Anon Aadhaar, okay, what we call Anon Aadhaar, right? So to anonymize our Aadhaar, okay. So now if anywhere I go, I just show my Aadhaar card, they can know everything from my Aadhaar card, right? Because my Aadhaar card is related to every portal, right? So we want to prove our identity. If I check in a hotel, I just want to prove I'm 18 plus, I'm legit to check in the hotel, I'm not a terrorist, I'm just a normal citizen of India. This is my Aadhaar data, but I don't want you to know my Aadhaar data. I don't want you to know my Aadhaar number, right? So you know there are many distributor companies, all the SIM card distributor company. We just hand over our photograph, our detail to them. They can have another SIM on our name simply, right? We don't want to do this, right? We just want to prove our identity without even giving them any detail about ourselves. So Anon Aadhaar is already in practice. India is already implementing it. Okay, we can see the GitHub repo and all those things. ZK passport, okay, same thing with the passport. Okay, you might have heard about the digital passport, but I don't know if ZK passport is coming up. Okay, so where later instead of the manual book, the passport book, we'll have just zero knowledge proof of our passport data, how many countries we have visited and so on, okay, without providing our actual details. So both of these projects are being developed by Ethereum already. Okay, so they are not in force, but they are in development phase. Signal has already implemented zero knowledge proof in their messaging applications. Telegram has already implemented ZKP in their application. Wire has implemented zero knowledge proof. We have decentralized ID, Entra ID by Microsoft, you know, right? When you need to provide your ID sometime, they ask, hey, go to the Entra ID portal. First you prove yourself there and link that number. You get some 5-digit number and you give this number here in this portal. Like in UK, at least when we make a rental agreement, I was in UK, so in the online portal you need to provide some identity. So you have a Microsoft authenticator, some third-party authenticator, where first you can authenticate yourself by your BRP, okay, the British residential permit number, okay, and then once you authenticated in the third party, you can put the code OTP in this application, for example, right? So those things are in practice. BMW has implemented a carpooling application in which, like, we book autos or cars in Rapido, Uber and those, right? So until he has accepted your booking, he should not be able to fetch any detail about yourself, for example. So these things are already in force. We can discuss, let I leave. Once you achieve zero knowledge proof, there are many identification applications, like you see identity authentication management, V2X, zero trust, many portal where identification is an instrumental activity, right? So there we can just provide our identification following zero knowledge proof implementation, right? So on the market side, it can, you see, impact several domains and can capture really huge numbers. Okay, so I think this can be my last slide. Yeah, so here I just included some of the really useful libraries or links who want to make their career in zero knowledge proof, ZKP implementation, for example. So I think in all of these links, I think first you can start with the YouTube videos. Okay, so there is ZKP whiteboard sessioning, okay, where what they do, the eminent zero knowledge ZKP scientists, they teach you for 2 hours on whiteboard, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, writing everything on board. What is Plonk? Okay, they will teach you for 2 hours what is Plonk, for example. So this is really very nice what you call channel, okay, in zero knowledge proof. Then you are aware with, I think I will start with React. You already know the JavaScript interface or framework, React framework. This is pretty much in use in implementing ZK passport and Anon Aadhaar. So India in Anon Aadhaar, they are using the React interface from JavaScript, okay. When we need to write a smart contract, we usually use Solidity. The ZK passport in Anon India circuits are written using Circom, okay. Nowadays Rust in pretty much in boom, we know, right? Rust is a secure language. So now whatever has been implemented, so everything is being converted in Rust, right? They are achieving it in Rust. So we have really nice repo on Rust, okay. There is something called ArcWork, ARKWORK, ArcWorks, okay, which is Rust based libraries where you will get everything implemented. You don't need to write a program for, if you want elliptic curve, if you want, everything is built there, okay. So all those things. GK Mesh, this link is useful if you want to achieve a monthly newsletter about ZKP activities, what is happening around the globe. As I mentioned, many companies are working. So you can just go to that link, you can just give your email. Every month you will get all the newsletters about ZKP activities, okay. So these are some maybe useful links for the developers who want to secure their career in zero knowledge proof implementation. I think with this I will stop and I welcome your queries or discussion. Thank you very much.